Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Counter, your weekly comic book show. I'm your host, Rich Stambolian, and seated next to me is a man whose hose are the thickest, Jonathan Adler.
Hey, that's pretty good.
That's good, right?
That's pretty good.
I listened to that today at work.
What's that from?
The MF Doom song, Rap Snitch Ganeshes.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. My dro's the stickiest.
I retired my MF Doom.
Yeah, why?
Ever since I saw him live, it's the most boring performance I would say. It's a guy walking from one edge to the other edge, just holding a towel, just going, just like, I got diabetes.
But doesn't he hire out dudes to be him at shows?
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I never believe that because are you that lazy that you need to hire other people to show up and do your rhyme? I don't think so, man.
Why not? So how's your week, man?
It's all right.
Yeah?
It's all right.
What's the matter?
Nothing.
This guy's looking at me like he's going to kill me.
What's wrong?
Nothing.
40-page contract. I need one.
I'm writing it up.
I need one.
We're all getting contracted.
Everybody's getting a
We're all contracting HIV.
Oh, all right.
Boom.
In case you are wondering when the next New York Comic Con is, it's next week.
Shockingly,
it's next week. We've only been talking about it for the past 2 months.
and I still didn't know it was last week.
It's true. He did ask me like, "Oh, it's next week already?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm counting the days. I'm like a prisoner.
I'm starting to become to the point where I'm starting to dread it.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a really big shit show.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm like the Count of Monte Cristo when it comes to this. I'm like sitting in a cell, like using a spoon to chalk the days off. You know.
I throw another Edgar Allan Poe time story, and I thought you were talking about someone getting like walled up. The whole time I'm just walling up dudes. Comic-Con.
Comic-Con turns me into a brutal kidnapper.
There's a gorilla in my chimney. With a razor blade in his hand.
I'm gonna let them all free on Sunday when the con's over. But yeah, next week is the con.
We'll be there.
October 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. 4 days this year.
4 days.
And
Tom Morello.
We're Tom Morello.
And
Thursday
DJ Z
night.
Trip.
Who cares?
I like DJ Z Trip.
Yeah, I've never heard anything from DJ Z Trip.
You'll enjoy DJ Z Trip.
Yeah.
He's like a remix guy.
That's it.
I guarantee you, gentlemen's bet that you'll enjoy DJ Z Trip more than you will with Tom Morello.
You know why? Because
Tom Morello's boring.
I plan on having a couple of adult beverages while we're at the Comic-Con.
Are we bringing a Camelback full of rum with us?
We'll do the rum ham. But yeah, Comic-Con's next week. We're gonna be there every day, and we're gonna try to bring you up to date. Not even news, but you can read the news on the websites. But we're gonna bring you up to date hilarity and weirdos in costumes. So probably the week after Comic-Con, we're gonna have like a little presentation for you as far as like pictures go, because I love taking those pictures, man.
Yeah, we both do. There's gonna be a lot of filthy pictures of weirdos sweating in costumes.
And a word to the wise: if you're gonna go to the Javits Center next week for the Comic-Con, you might want to prepare yourself a little bit. You bigger dudes out there, there's no shame in talcing the undercarriage.
Please do,
because you do get the chub rub. You get big time. You're walking around all day.
Not just the like the whole Maury Povich area, but you should be doing your haunches too, like your upper region, like this whole area. Because I guarantee you're gonna do a lot of like the hunch, because you're gonna have heavy bags in the front. You're just gonna be hunching over. So you need to have some serious like gold bond action going on.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to just empty it on your face like a rap video, as if it was like a bottle of champagne.
Try and look like you're trying to do the opposite of blackface.
Exactly.
On your body.
Go for Casper the friendly ghost. Come to the con. Seriously, man. Like, cause like, you know what? Like comic fans, there's a lot of us that are,
larger,
very
than life.
But there's a lot of us that are big dudes, and this is the most that you'll walk in a year. The Javits Center is a gigantic con. It's true.
It is. It's like
I think I broke Jonathan.
Because it is the most exercise they're gonna get.
Yeah,
it is. It's like a serious, like you're gonna sweat. Like if your body, I feel like it's a bunch of like polio victims like walking for the first time.
It seriously is. After that first day of walking, like if you don't know what you're in for, if you're not into going to conventions, you're gonna get so tired and dehydrated, and you're gonna be so grumpy. But you're gonna get up and do it again the next day. Hydrate yourself
or not.
You might get disgusted and just stay home. But bring plenty of water with you.
Mm-hmm. Get ready to spend money. Lots of money.
Yeah.
Money on what?
Definitely the larger people will be spending on food and merchandise.
Yeah.
$10 hot dog at
Yeah, it's just like going to the ball game. If you plan on drinking all day, you can spend a lot of money on beer, which a lot of people don't. Like, I'm surprised how kind of sober the whole Comic-Con experience is for everyone but us.
They had you're absolutely right. That's such a weird thing too, because they do sell booze at the Javits Center, and I don't mind. I'm the type of guy who doesn't mind walking around with a good buzz on, and just kind of like chilling out and looking at all this stuff. I don't know if they did it last year, but I think when I went to Chicago last year, they actually had a tap, like a rolling tap.
That's cool.
Where like all like, and you could tell exactly who went. It was the guys who tried to get away from their kids. And they were just like hanging out like by the bar, basically.
I can't take this.
So
I need to loosen up.
Do they have anything downstairs, like in the basement?
Yeah, that's like all the food courts and stuff like that are all open.
And they have like that's where like they do the presentations, because there's like such a giant underbelly to the Javits Center, which is just like all big rooms, and you're gonna have to wait on lines.
I've done a keynote at the Javits.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah,
very cool. For what?
Blog World.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was the worst thing I ever did.
Yeah,
okay. Worst speech.
This speech. Oh, that's a speech. Okay.
Parts of it. Okay. Yeah. It was awful.
All right.
I just want to be like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
I wouldn't be able to do a speech here. I feel like the best thing you could do if you're on a panel at Comic-Con is just shut the fuck up.
Like be that guy?
Yeah, be the guy who shut the fuck up on the on the stage.
Well, the panels are a lot easier. At least you have people there. I had no panel.
I think it depends also on it depends on what panel you see, because like I've been to some awesome panels where like you could tell everybody got along. Like I went to the that Battlestar Galactica ladies panel last year, and they're all
the
like,
ladies of Battlestar Galactica. It's on paper. It sounds so terrible, but it probably would be a lot of fun.
It sounds so sketchy. It was. They
are attractive women.
It was Commander Kane. It was Starbuck. It was Trisha Helfer, and it was Callie, I think, and
she's cute.
And the Indian chick.
She's cute too.
And they just looked like they got along, so it was like a lot of fun. But I've been to panels where it was like you have the two grumps in the corner who were like, "I got my paycheck. I don't know why I'm here."
The only panel I've ever been to was the one I went with you, the Grant Morrison one.
Phenomenal panel.
That was a really good panel. Yeah. I'm definitely gonna make more an effort for this one to actually go to some of them, because I think in respect of what we're doing, we should be at a panel and maybe even get embarrassed by asking a question while on camera. But I stay away from things like the plague. Yeah, it's the lines. It's the way I am with lines. I can't go near them.
I'm the same way to a certain extent. Like I tried to go to the Walking Dead panel last year.
That'd be cool. There's gonna be a lot of shit there.
Yeah, and that line was like maybe 3 city blocks long because it was in the basement area. And we walked downstairs, and I was like, I cannot do this. I cannot do this. And we just like walked back up, and then we caught the show.
There's also like the people who wait online who are very high up in the line are always like the very confrontational nerds.
Oh yeah,
the ones who just speak very loudly, like I've been here all day, and he better answer my question, and like just miserable. Like
Kevin Smith's doing a live podcast. Jay and Silent Bob Get Old live.
Yeah, that's gonna be a pretty big thing. That's gonna be huge, actually.
I think that's at the IGN theater too. Which is like the first basement level area, which is a really nice place to see a panel.
You should try. I'm not going to be there early on Friday, but I know you probably will be. You should try and get to see this awesome documentary they're doing about the premiering one. I think Friday morning or Friday afternoon for some like retrospective on comics with Stan Lee's going to be in Steranko.
Oh, really? I'll check that out, man. Do I have to dress as Evil Stan Lee for a day?
You're gonna have to take the mantle.
Take the mantle. Oh, what's happening?
You're gonna have my tweed coat and sweat more. I'm not bringing that with me. I'll tell you right now. There's not a goddamn chance in the world that I'm going against Evil Stanley next time.
I'll just be Evil Jonathan.
I'm most excited about like I know like you definitely enjoy taking in the whole Comic-Con experience. Yeah. The only thing I really enjoy about it, aside from like the crazy people in the costumes, is the news. Like I love I'm hungry and like a weirdo when it comes to like Comic-Con news. I just sit and reload my friggin' like comic book resources side or Bleeding Cool or whatever.
That is true. Like he is not selling himself short on that, because I remember like the cons that we haven't gone to together. I would get texts from you from news that just happened, and you'd be like, "Oh, did you see this?" I'd be like, "I'm walking around."
I'm a psychopath with that shit.
It's good, man. I mean, like it's good for this, and it's good for the show and for the fans.
I'm coming for the freaks though. I know that ultimately I'm definitely coming for the freak show
and stay for the geeks. And that's it. That's it, man. Just powder up, drink some water.
Money,
bring money.
Powder up, money. Yeah. If this is your first experience, just prepare to get tired.
Yeah.
It's very exhausting. if you don't like being around people, you definitely shouldn't come.
No.
If you don't enjoy comics, I don't even know why you're watching the show. But it should be a real shit show.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be one of the bigger ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's always gotten bigger.
Yeah.
Every year it constantly gets larger and larger. And do they have the larger area now? They have like the downstairs or the upstairs?
They have the upstairs, and then they have the side upstairs where they threw Artist Alley last year.
A lot of what I noticed though, like Jason Aaron's going to be in Artist Alley.
Yeah.
So we're going to try and get some good beard time with him.
Yeah, I got a couple of people that I've talked to that we're going to try to line up, like Cliff Chang said to come by, a couple other people.
I'd love to talk to him.
Dan Panosian, hopefully they'll remember me and not be like a get away from me guy.
Well, we're going to be dressed like old school press characters, with like the fedoras and the raincoats and the whole nine.
Just a couple of Clark Kents.
That's why we're gonna do the entire show. So prepare yourself for really, really terrible accents.
I was telling Adam, the gentleman that I work with today, about he was like, "Oh, I'm coming on Friday. Like, I need you guys to give me some like pointers and stuff." I'm like, "Yo, bring a lot of money, because between the both of us, we're gonna point you to the 50% off trade area.
Hell yeah,
and load you up, And that's one of the beautiful things about the con is you can get trade
retailers
paperbacks.
Trying to unload merchandise at the Comic-Con. That's a good thing to do. Especially coming from us, where we used to work these shows like crazy. Deals like
Sunday.
Negotiate. Yeah, if you're waiting out and you're trying to watch something, you're trying to like really stock up Sunday near the end of the show, just people don't want to carry shit back with them, so negotiate the hell out of them.
I used to get retarded deals on Sunday when we used to do the shows together. And I'd walk around after we packed all our stuff and literally shoot prices out of people, and they'd be like, "I don't want to take this home. Take this statue." I got that Lobo statue on the toxic when he said on the toxic waste for like $25 because the guy was like, "This thing's heavy." You
did well. Like I remember, like you would always take advantage of this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'd always take advantage of like trying to get the deals there, and you always get great stuff.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm having a heart attack. But I would never. I would maybe buy like a couple trades. That's what I usually get my money's worth on. It's always like a good half off trade.
Yeah. And like some dudes do like 75% off, man, which is fantastic. Like, I remember last year I picked up the that giant Scud trade that was like $40. I think I got it for like $5. Because these guys are just blowing everything out. It's awesome.
Yeah, they want to make their money. Yeah. If you're paying cash, they will give you that ass.
Cash is king.
Mm-hmm. Cash is king.
That's what they say. So you want to talk some comics?
Let's talk some comics.
All right. How about some action comics?
I love action comics. I love this book.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely, completely love this book.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. We get another issue of the self-described half Elvis, half Superman that's going on right now. Basically tied to an electric chair by fat Lex Luthor, getting electrocuted. Loved it. Absolutely loved the book.
Yeah, it's a really good book, and I think Rags Morales really stepped up his art in this book too.
Yes.
Some of the pages of the first issue kind of look like they were phoned in, but this is like.
Yeah, you think so?
I think so, man. I
don't think he was up to. I don't think he was up to par with like the really good Rags Morales stuff.
Like this was fantastic. He does like such great facial lines and facial expressions, and you do have like the chubby Lex Luthor who doesn't look like Grant Morrison anymore, but he looks like Brad Meltzer now, and just like kind of like. Pudgy, and he's a villain. And a really cool thing about this is that they introduced this is the one book that's taking place 5 years ago,
right?
And they introduced Brainiac at the end of this issue,
which is a really creepy reveal.
Yeah, because Lex Luthor's talking to somebody the whole time, and he's like, "Who are you? Who are you?" And then they show the shot of the Brainiac satellite. So he's talking to Brainiac, and Lex Luthor hates aliens, and he's talking to an alien.
It's always been it's always been his weird little thing. In the back, they have that little supplemental thing that, focusing on what's coming up and everything. They showed, they're talking about the fat Luthor. Right. And Morrison said, like, oh, it's cool because it's, it's another gripe to have about him. Like, he's this chubby dude who, like, kind of has a problem with this unbelievably Hercules-like Superman.
Yep. He doesn't want the aliens.
Don't choke. Don't choke.
No.
Our bodies are falling apart on camera tonight.
Mini heart attack, choke victim. You also have the fact that he's adamant about not referring to Superman as a man, but as an it, and everybody who's working with him is saying like, hey, I don't think we could. I don't think he can last much longer. And he's like, it's an it. And then he breaks free. The really awesome thing I think that they did with this also is that they made his cape
completely indestructible.
Yeah, completely indestructible. So like, he grabs his cape and now the bullets are really bouncing off him, which is kind of an interesting thing. And I really want to see where they go with that.
Which Brainiac is it?
We don't know yet.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Okay.
Because
it's
fresh
a
start.
It's so it's like Brainiac 1.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know because this is a complete restart of the universe to the point where Dan DiDio came out the other day and said, "Hey, all those awesome Event Crisis books that happened? Well, they didn't.
Nope.
So it kind of messes with continuity a lot. So you don't. That's a good question. You don't really know which version of Brainiac this is. And I think it's the brain satellite one.
Yeah.
Not like the giant indestructible man.
Yeah, I think they're gonna try to do their best to try and make him look as horrifying as possible.
Yeah.
I always liked the big green, like hulking one that Gary Frank made.
Oh yeah.
That was a really because he was like a physical threat and a mental threat.
Yep. And he was just he was pretty much like a mental barbarian.
Mental barbarian. It's a good word. I like that. Mental barbarian.
Make a note of it.
Mental barbarian.
Detective Comics #2 also came out. First issue, really decent. Yoda. First issue, really kind of cool reveal. Joker gets his face sliced off.
And that was it.
Yeah, and this
that
issue,
was it for me.
This issue was a little weird.
I did not like this comic book.
And I do want to believe in Tony Daniel.
Why do you want to believe in Tony Daniel?
Because they're giving him a flagship title to run with.
But why are you giving them a mistake? It's such an obvious. I'm a little weirded out by the fact that he's now, instead of Tony S. Daniel, now he's Tony Salvatore Daniel. Because he's now he's a writer, so he has to have a 3-part name.
Right. Yeah.
Like if I'm a writer, I should be Jonathan Ross Adler.
There's an interesting thing I think with the art in this book too, is because he's aping a lot of older Batman styles.
Yeah.
He goes the Frank Miller route with a lot of the stuff, and he does the which is one of my favorite Batman artists, Norm Brayfogle. He does that kind of thing with him in the shadows and kind of like the lanky appearance.
I'm not a fan. I don't think I've ever been a real fan of his art. I think his best stuff was probably the RIP stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like, especially that we were talking about in the car, the really long, weird soap opera romance that they were doing in the beginning.
Right.
It's kind of weird, just kind of middle of the road. And I don't even think the art is just kind of it. There's that weird drabness to a lot of DC shit.
It's the DC trademark with a lot of their books.
I hate that. I really, because if you're gonna do drab, go old school. Go with the more flat people who are able to do great art and do that type of style. But it really feels like shitty Valiant.
Okay, all right.
When Valiant ran out of very good artists and became a really wow, this is not impressive at all.
When you didn't want to read Exo Manowar anymore.
I didn't want to read Exo Manowar. I love any idea where they take a barbarian from the past and put him in Iron Man armor. That is kind of like Venom.
It's such a great idea too. I wish they brought.
I wish it was better. I wish it was executed better.
Yeah, I wish they, instead of buying Wildstorm, I wish they brought over they bought Valiant.
There's some cool shit in there.
Yeah,
Harbinger was great.
I liked Rye. X-Man was pretty cool.
Solar was a cool Silver Surfer story.
Hardcore.
What was Hardcore?
Hardcorps.
Hardcorps.
Yeah.
Hardcorps are pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was a book that anyone can fucking die in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's another weird thing.
They were all very gory. All the books were really, really over the top gory.
But Rye was very bloody.
Yeah.
And was it Bloodshot?
Bloodshot. Yeah.
Who was the other guy who had the circle on his chest. And they had Magnus too. Magnus Robot Fighter.
That was cool too.
Yeah. Who's a guy who fought robots in a skirt.
Very manly.
Going along with the Wildstorm thing, what I want to know is that we have Stormwatch. Stormwatch #2 also came out this week, which is a cool read. But does that mean that everything in the Wildstorm universe restarted also? And does that mean all this stuff that we liked and we read doesn't exist anymore?
I don't think it's there anymore.
Planetary.
Yeah, gone.
For example,
gone.
And for those of you who like cool comic books and you're kind of
I hate cool comic books.
you kind of you're I'm gonna make the parallel between what Alan Moore did with League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where he took characters whose copyrights were up and brought them into his own crazy Alan Moore world. They did that with Warren Ellis did that with Planetary in the respect of superheroes, where the villains in the book were an evil version of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, which is one of the coolest things they've ever done with. I think even before League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, it was really the first time they did something where it was really heavily incorporated that. It was such a surprising book and so good, and it'd be a shame to like even the early Authority stuff to be wiped out. But I think because now we're incorporating them into the DC universe and they're starting from scratch, I think we have no choice but to think that all that stuff is gone.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
Yeah, I really want to. There was a lot of cool stuff that happened in the Wildstorm universe that I wish they brought it to light. Because like if you're a regular DC fan and you're picking up Stormwatch, you don't know who half these guys are and you don't know why they're there. Like you'll know who Martian Manhunter is, but you won't know who Apollo Midnighter, the Engineer, or any of those people are. You know, but. That being said, this was a pretty excellent book.
No Doctor, I just thought of.
Right, no Doctor.
I like this. They have the one guy talking to like the Cthulhu Moon.
Right.
They're saying he's like the eminence of swords. Like he's the best sword fighter. Tom Haderman or whatever his name is. Like a real basic name.
Yeah.
He obviously is going to have something to do with Demon Knights because there's going to be a weird connection between Stormwatch and Demon Knights.
And that's cool.
This is actually one of the better books.
It was one of the better number 2 books. I'm definitely going to come back for number 3 on this.
And like I was saying to you, how it feels so much like the old Warren Ellis stuff.
It does.
It's like really over the top, science stuff, and just it's a really really strong book.
It has.
Have no idea where it's going though.
Yeah, I mean, it has that kind of like spiraling thing where you're kind of on the outskirts of what's happening and you're not completely sure what's happening. And then as the story progresses, like Paul Cornell does a great job of writing that way. Where like he'll start out with kind of like a basic idea and then he'll confuse the shit out of you and then it'll become something incredible that will make you read everything over again.
Right. And this is the book that because my favorite book from him was MI13. And it's the one that feels the most like MI13.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right, man. Because he does like a good combination of all that the
team dynamic
stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. Just general stuff.
Just general stuff.
I enjoy.
Huntress #1 also came out this week, which you didn't read. But
I didn't read it.
I'm gonna give you. Give
me a rundown.
Like a quick rundown of the book. Huntress was part of the Bat family, and then she was in Birds of Prey. They restarted her with #1. She's in Italy in this issue, and it's a little weird because as the weeks go on, you have female fans kind of up in arms about the DC relaunch and about how characters like Starfire and Catwoman are kind of setting women in comics back a little bit. And the Huntress, it seems like they're trying to turn that on its ear a little bit, but I don't think it worked because you have a strong vigilante. She's a strong female vigilante character, and I really don't like it when they make the strong female vigilante find like the prostitution ring or like the typical stuff that, hey, if I was a woman, I'd be really upset about. You know what? If you want to do a good job of it, bring it down to a different level and just have it. You never see the Batman story where he finds like
he's busting dudes getting sodomized in jail.
Yeah, or like you'll never see Red Robin bust up like a happy ending spot, or something like that. Like this,
we all do.
This is essentially what it is, And then there's one weird scene in the book where she's trying to infiltrate like this like slavery ring, and she goes to the hotel. Exactly, she has to bellhop for something, and
spending too much time on this book.
He brings her like a baby prostitute, and she goes crazy. It's I don't know,
stupid.
Yeah.
Well, it's Paul Levitz. It's old school. Me personally, I've never really had a big interest in Huntress. Even when I read Birds of Prey and really enjoyed it, I never had any great attention to or attraction to her.
She, for me, she was always too
menstrual.
See, we want that, and the fact that we already have a Renee Montoya, and I always thought of her as just like a Renee Montoya in a costume.
Yeah, and I want Renee Montoya. I want my lesbian question as soon as possible.
Yeah. Red Lanterns #2 also came out this week. We talked about this a little bit.
Not enjoying it at all, man. We were talking about how, especially with, I think the Green Lantern universe is a little bit too big right now. I don't think there's a real necessary need for Red Lanterns or the New Guardians book with Kyle, which I've talked about last week. But it's just like they've neutered a really great villain in Atrocitus.
Yeah.
They're trying to make him more of an anti-hero and making him more sympathetic. And just like you were saying, it's basically him kind of, talking and crying over Krona's body.
Yeah.
And it's just like really like all the cool things that I've liked about the Red Lanterns, the no talking and the rage and just being like these mindless monsters. It's just kind of just, I don't know, dude.
Yeah. And it's a shame that it's Peter Milligan too, and I love Peter Milligan stuff, man. Like, I'll anytime somebody says Peter Milligan, I'll always think of Ecstatics.
Yeah, man. I just actually went back and I reread that stuff, and that stuff is still timeless, amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. If you want the craziest X-Men shit you'll ever read, with a lot of weird pop culture eschewing, you'll read Ecstatics and the X-Force book. It's tremendous.
It's really good. It's really good stuff. That Ecstatics book was phenomenal. You had Peter Milligan and Mike Allred doing the art for it, who's like has such a huge pop infusion to his art. And
came out of nowhere.
Also has really nothing to do with it's an X-Men comic that has nothing to do with the mythos. Almost, you just have a bunch of like you have your good-looking mutants like Cyclops and Jean Grey, and this team that he wrote was just the grossest looking dudes on Earth.
Yeah, you had Mr. Sensitive, who was like covered in sores and antennas.
Yeah.
And he was, overly sensitive to, everything around, where he was almost had like Daredevil type powers. You had the Anarchist, who was a black dude who had burning sweat powers. And it was more about fame, and it was like a weird, ironic book. They even had the biggest thing that got my attention was they were supposed to do a story where they have a resurrected Princess Di on it, the team. But it was right when she died, and they couldn't get it right, so the rights for it and everything, they too many, I guess, boycotting at that point.
Yeah,
and they made her into a different princess, but she still looked like a dark-haired Princess Di. So such a good book.
And he had Dupe too, who became like a fan favorite for like a little bit.
Yeah, man.
And Dupe was just like this
ball of shit.
Yeah, he was like a green floating lima bean with arms, and he became like a fan favorite. And then he showed up in a few issues of different comic books, and he was like this all-powerful like guy.
Well, he knew everybody. He had they did a Wolverine Dupe miniseries, which was just awesome. Like he was best friends with Dupe, and he had he couldn't speak. He spoke in like a Kryptonian cryptograph language. Really, really cool character.
Yeah, really, really dig it. But Red Lanterns, I love Green Lantern stuff, so I do. I'm in it,
I like I said to you, I just feel like they're kind of just coasting at this point. There's nothing. I love the Green Lantern stuff for so long that I expect so much out of it.
Right.
I just feel it's kind of like in a lull. I think we're just getting too much. Just like how there's too many Batman books. There's
a lot of Batman books, man. Men of War #2 also came out this week. The first issue was fantastic. Ivan Brandon, Tom Derenick. You had like a backup, which is supposed to be, I want to say the Howling Commandos, but it's not, obviously.
The backup feature,
yeah,
it's like a weird real war tales without any superheroes or anything.
Right. You were saying before, man.
I did not enjoy this book at all.
You don't know where it's going.
It's not even that I don't know what's going on. It's the book made me feel like an idiot because I would go back and read pages. I'm like, what are they trying to tell me in this book? It's not that I think it's a little bit overly confusing. I think it's kind of, there wasn't anything drawing me in, and it's just a lot of kind of disjointedness to the book. I didn't know what they were going for with this book.
Yeah,
I love the first one so much, so I really do. I want to read a story about Sergeant Rock's kid.
Right. I think the weirdness is the one thing for me that's going to keep coming back to this book.
But it's not even weird, dude. It's like I don't know. It's just like weird. It's like weird in the sense that you feel like this guy pumped out this story in a day and just like, we're going to have a little bit of war, we're going to have a little bit of superhero, but it's really not going to be making sense.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't make sense yet. It definitely doesn't. Especially with the whole that chick showing up. Like I said, you have theories about I think what if it's the Ghost of War? Maybe it's like an alien.
Who cares?
Who knows?
Who cares?
Another 2 great books that came out from DC this week. I really dug this Swamp Thing #2. It picks up. It added a little bit to the mythos.
Yeah.
I thought
It's cool. It's a very good book. Snyder does this, right?
Yeah.
Snyder's killing it on most books that he's doing. They're definitely doing a strong connection between this and Animal Man,
right?
By talking about the 2 elements they control: the green for Swamp Thing, which is the nature world, and then the Animal Man with everything that's within the animal kingdom.
The blood and guts with
the blood and guts, yeah. And Swamp Thing is good. It's beautiful. Yannick Paquette is killing it in the book with his art.
What I really dig about it is that they added that whole little thing where they explain to you that there's some kind of pantheon of these guys who are Swamp Things.
The Parliament of Trees.
Yeah.
And they're giving them some type of legacy at this point.
Right.
Which I don't think they've ever done.
And it's such a cool thing because it if you're going to do a relaunch and bring a Vertigo character back into the universe, that was such a great way to do it because the issue essentially tells you that, listen, Alec Holland was destined to be Swamp Thing, but because he died, the swamp creature, the green, latched onto a corpse and just thought it was Alec Holland. So it didn't achieve its potential.
Which I'm not a particular fan of this that type of storytelling. I don't know. There's something about where it's kind of going down the same route But at the same time, like I don't care that he wasn't another dude. Like I just want to see him do cool Swamp Thing shit. Yeah. At this point,
that's gonna happen. That's
and I didn't like the ending. I didn't like this whole like chick on the motorcycle thing. I never want to see another like chick in a motorcycle or like a mystery character in a motorcycle with a shotgun after seeing like Arseface and Preacher, because there's nothing can top that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's like it's the Terminator 2, Come With Me If You Want to Live.
Yeah.
Kind of bit. Animal Man #2 also came out this week, which was fantastic. I think
really love
may
this
have been
book.
my favorite New 52 book this week.
This week, yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, because you had and it's such a neat little story where you have like Buddy Baker and his family, and there's such weird, quirky characters, and the kid has like the power to resurrect dead animals and apparently transmute other beings too, because she made that guy's.
Oh yeah, she gave him a chicken hand.
She gave him a chicken hand at one point. And
she knows a lot more too. She has a bigger knowledge base than that Buddy actually has than in with the animal powers.
And she's stronger too.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with this issue is that they're traveling through the morphogenetic field, and the animals are telling them how to get to like this big world tree, which is now scarred into Buddy Baker's chest.
He looks nuts.
And he looks crazy. Like he's got bleeding eyes. He's got like a crazy tree on his chest with like all these veins coming out, and she's
very visceral looking.
Absolutely, and she's pointing at him and saying like, "We're here. We have to get here." So they're traveling to this tree, and now they have to save this tree before it gets
that tree.
Eaten by the evil red beings. Who look completely gross.
Who come out of they like transmuted hippos, or they're born from like big giant pregnant hippos, and kills the zookeepers and takes their bodies. It's a great book. It's a really like, I think it's going to get even more interesting as they obviously are going to have some type of crossover with Swamp Thing.
And that's something to look forward to, definitely. Let's throw into the we'll go into the Marvel books right now. Something I really really dug. If you're a passing fan, you could pick this up and really like it, and then pick up. They'll probably collect this with the other books that they did. Avengers 1959 #1.
Oh, totally.
Came out this week, and
this is a great story.
Yeah. Like
before, recently in New Avengers, they did a great story where they say that Nick Fury started a team of Avengers, I guess right after World War II, like in the 50s.
Right.
So it was a team that consisted of Nick Fury, Sabretooth, the spy Silver Sable's father,
right?
Ulysses Bloodstone, the Monster Hunter, Kraven the Hunter, Namora, who has the craziest friggin' name I've ever seen.
Yeah.
What was it? Read her for her real name.
Let me find it.
It's on, I think, when they do the introductions.
Aquaria Nautica Neptunia.
Just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. And Dominic Fortune.
Dominic Fortune, great character. And it's a spy book essentially, but you get like the dynamic that they created before with Sabretooth and Kraven, kind of vying for the affection of Sable is Namora.
Yeah, is
awesome.
There was such a great little panel in this where Kraven shoots Sabretooth in the face for hitting on Namor, and Sabretooth has healing powers, and going with the stories that happened before in the Avengers run, Kraven considers Sabretooth the ultimate hunt because he's an animal and he can't be killed, and he has like these healing powers. So he just walks right up and he's like, "Are we done here?" Blasts him in the face, and then she's like, "Listen, I kind of need you alive. This guy's gonna wake up and kill you." He's Sabretooth. Really cool stuff, man.
It makes me miss Sabretooth.
It does. It's such a weird team, man. And you have like Dominic. This issue was really cool. It was a nice setup. And you have Nick Fury as the leader, and people are trying to assassinate them, and they're on the trail of Nazis.
Yeah.
That got away. Which is essentially what the book is about.
And what's great is that you really don't, in the Marvel history, there's no the 50s are kind of a blank spot for Marvel, except for the Agents of Atlas. So you get the weird like other Captain America that came after him. So you have some really cool shit that you can play with.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to come back. And you know what? I was never really a big fan of Chaykin.
He's grown on me over the years.
Yeah, I think so. I think like the older you get, the more you appreciate like his kind of writing style.
I hated him as a kid. I never dug his writing style. I never dug his art, and he really is good on this book.
It's a good comic booky semi-adult read for anybody who's an Avengers fan. Just like a little secret history thing. And it's only 5 issues too, and the first one came out on Wednesday.
I'm a big fan of these 5-issue miniseries.
Yeah, same here, man.
It's because I think you get a good layout when you have the first issue being the intro, and you have that like fat little middle, and then you have you're not waiting 6 months. You gain that extra 1 month does make a difference when it comes down to the storyline,
and it gets collected right away.
Yep.
Another interesting book that's under the Marvel Banner, but Marvel does this thing where they'll take creators who want to create their own stuff and make it like the Icon. It's called like the Icon Company or the Icon Run or whatever.
Yeah.
Bendis,
Powers is under it.
Bendis has Powers and
all of Millarworld shit.
And I think you have
Brilliance under it.
Fraction doing Casanova.
Casanova's underneath it. It's basic. It's kind of their creator-owned Vertigo imprint that they have within Marvel.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
I have not been a fan of this series, and like we've talked about Miller, how like I'm not really. I feel a lot of it's very cliched. He's kind of doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
I mean, this is a story about a kid who had MS, and he's given like Shazam type powers, where he's like the Superman character.
Right.
But the twist is that his kind of the guy, his genie for the most part that gave him his powers is a little monkey in a spaceman costume who is either working for Satan or Satan himself.
Right. And I like the setup. I really enjoy the setup. You have like this crippled kid, and it's a world without superheroes. So the kid looks up to this guy Superior, who's a movie superhero. He's like an actor, he's an actual actor who plays Superior, and then he gets granted Superior's powers. He looks like him. He gets transformed into an adult. A really cool thing that happened in this book was he basically fixes all the world's problems in the span of like 2 days.
He stops, the Taliban in the beginning.
Yeah.
He's able to he's a pitcher for the Mets for a game against the Yankees, which was nice.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I text you as soon as I read that. I was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. He's a kid. He wants to live out kid stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like he gets the thing from the president, and he's like, "Oh, could you do me a favor?" And he's like, "For real?" And it shows him like knocking one out of the park, and then playing for the Knicks, and then playing with like his favorite rock band.
Yeah.
Which is like really cool stuff.
It's cool. It's a decent book. This is definitely my favorite of the run so far, but it wasn't. It's my least favorite of what Miller's done in the last few years.
Okay, all right, that's a good assessment. I think
is it a good assessment?
It's a good assessment because I think I'm leaning towards that. I'm agreeing with you on that because like you had like a lot of weird Mark Miller stuff over the past couple of years, especially with like the Ultimate, like that whole Ultimates run he did, which I dug. It was a guilty pleasure. It crossed the line into a guilty pleasure for me with the vampire stuff. This is an interesting take on it because it's so quick, and you think to yourself like, what if, Superman could do this in a day.
Yeah.
And then, but you have like this kid who's just like, all right, I'm going to do all this cool stuff. And then you have him getting depowered. And then the little Satan monkey says, hey, listen.
I love the monkey.
Like, sell me your soul to continue being this guy, or you're going to be the crippled kid for the rest of your life. And it sets it up.
Pretty cool.
Which is pretty nuts. And it sets it up for the fact that like, would you be this guy? Like you personally, would you be this guy if it meant saving the planet until you died? And then just spending it.
Well, I would be I'd even be saving the planet. I would be doing bad shit. I'd be a villain immediately.
Would you be bad Superman from Superman 3?
Yes. I would just be an asshole.
Yeah.
I'd be a total prick, and I'd just, rob people and probably build like a throne of bones and shit. And just be a total prick. But I you know what it is? It's also a book that's totally marketed to be a film, and it already has been picked up to be directed by Matthew Vaughn this week.
Okay.
So, I'm interested to see where it's going.
Yeah. I don't think it's a miniseries, right? It's an ongoing.
It's a mini.
Yeah.
I think it's a mini. Could be wrong. Be wrong.
I'm dumb when it comes to this shit sometimes because I'm like I need the issue 5 of etc.
Yeah. If I don't see that of 6 of 7, I have no idea what's happening.
I love my comics, but sometimes you got to feed it to me.
Yes.
Feed it to me. Great book this week. Also, Thunderbolts number 164.
Love this book.
If you haven't been reading the book, or if you have been reading the book, it's a story about how these modern day, it's like an offshoot of the Thunderbolts team ends up back in time in World War II, and they're
basically all villains for the most part, or like borderline reformed. So you get like crazy characters like Mr. Hyde, Centaurius, which is a weird like out of left field Santana, Satana, excuse me. That's not called Santana. Who else? Boomerang.
Right.
Some cool characters. So they're stuck in World War II.
Moonstone, yeah.
In Moonstone. And they meet up with Captain America, Namor, the rest of the invaders. And they are about to fight Zemo. And they're stuck there back in time. And they have to pose as, superheroes. So they get best like Captain America and such. And they redesign their costumes. It's a cool read.
It really is a cool read because you have Namor and Cap who are the invaders trying to free the original Human Torch, and and it's white bread Cap, and there's like that one panel where he goes up to Centurious, he's like, I'm glad to see they gave you Negroes jobs after after it took Tuskegee, and everybody's kind of like, okay, man, like we're from the future.
Yo, did Captain America say Negro?
Yeah, like we're from the future. That's weird, Cap. And it's like the mighty Captain America kicking Nazis in the face, Captain America. Really excellent book, and you have also on the team an Asgardian, which is how they're gonna track her down, which is how they're gonna track the team down. Like Gunna.
Plus, you get to see Mr. Hyde. Like they kind of like redoing him a bit, and they're giving him like the top hat. They're giving him like a bit of a look that looks like Jack the Ripper.
Right. Yeah.
He looks awesome. But I love the moment when he basically rounds up all those the Nazi soldiers and feeds them to like the now dormant swamp thing. Excuse me. We both did that. The dormant man thing, which is basically their method of teleporting.
Yeah. Yeah. And they all have the updated costume. I really like the boomerang.
Boomerangs was cool.
He's like the bomber jacket with like a helmet.
Centaurius look great too. I kind of hope they do keep some of these costumes. They look great.
It'd be cool if they did like a whole thing where they're forever stuck in time.
Kind of wish that Shocker stayed in the team because he's one of my favorite dudes in the world.
Yeah. What happened to him in the last?
I don't remember. I think they kind of pulled him out because they had this is like the B team compared to the other Thunderbolts team. This is another team that's separated from the rest of the Thunderbolts. And they're fairly new additions to the team, not new characters. But what was my point?
What happened to Shocker?
Oh, what happened to Shocker? Because he was recently in the Spider Island thing.
I think that's it. And he freaked out because he got spider powers.
Which reminder every week, pick up Spider Island. You're probably missing one of the better crossovers out there.
Well, that was the one book that I didn't pick up that you read that you said was fantastic.
Yeah, just real quick. Just like last week, Spider Island came out with a tie-in. It was Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, Shang-Chi. Great character, awesome character. He basically has, he's the master of Kung Fu, and he gets Spider-Man powers just like everyone else in Manhattan because he doesn't have any other powers. But the big payoff at the very end is he grows 6 arms, so he really is the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. It is a cool book.
So pick that up.
Who doesn't want to read a karate character with 6 arms?
It is a good sell. You have a karate character with 6 arms, and it's Shang-Chi, the master of Kung Fu,
fighting a very, very cool bad guy from Osborn.
Yes. Pick it up. I didn't pick it up. I'm gonna end up getting it next week.
You're a dick.
I'm not
you're
a dick.
Selfish.
You're a dick. I'm the most selfish person on earth. Just give it to me. Just give it to me.
That was my favorite. This is my favorite book of the week.
Yeah, Moon Knight #6. Bendis, Maliev, and Wilson. I really like this cover. It's like such a throwback to like that Bill Sienkiewicz.
Yeah.
Like those old school covers, man.
So you've got Moon Knight operating out of LA. He's hooked up with Echo, having a really like kind of cool romance going on with her. She's a deaf character, so I'm always like very much paying attention to if he's facing her or not, and they call her out on it.
Yeah.
Because she's reading her lips, his lips. But he's basically combating this new kingpin of LA. Who it is, you really don't know until I have a very good idea of who it is.
Count Nefaria.
Yeah. Which is awesome.
It's the monocle.
Yeah. He looks great. He's a really underused character. Count Nefaria is basically an evil scientist who basically has like almost all the powers of Superman.
Yeah.
You get the night shift in this, and you're also dealing with the fact that Mark Spector, the Moon Knight, his split personalities are Captain America, Wolverine, and Spider-Man.
Well, he also he blows away the night shift.
Yeah.
Count Nefaria. And then you have like a cool little bit where the actual Avengers show up and they're like, "Are you okay with this, Moon Knight?" And he's like, "I got this." And then it shows his mental Avengers.
Well, what's great is like he's freaking out and he doesn't even know if they're really there or not.
Right.
He can't tell if they're in his mind or they actually did show up in his apartment.
I mean, I really dig this book. There was a cool little bit in the beginning. It's like those little panels that always make it for me. Like when the former Shield guy's examining the Ultron helmet, and he's like, "This thing is gonna give me testicular cancer."
Yeah, man.
I know it.
What's that dude's name? He has such a weird Buck Lime.
I think so.
Yeah, Buck Lime. They're probably one of the most unusual names for a black dude and a Shield agent.
Yeah, Buck Lime.
Buck Lime. It's like a porno star.
So it's only 6 issues in. It's tangentially related to the Marvel universe. Just pick it up, man. It's just good, right? It's a good read.
Yeah, and it seems like they're really going to be making a big deal out of the both Ultron being in the storyline and this new Kingpin of LA. And
it really does away with a lot of the old standard Moon Knight stuff, like Frenchie and like like all that crazy stuff. So it's just him and Echo against their adversaries.
This is one of my favorite type of reboots, especially for a dude who has done the book twice over, with 2 different #1s beating Bendis. It's just solid book.
Yeah, Pick it up. Excellent book, which you were saying was getting a little pooped on.
This got shit on. We're talking about X-Men Scism number 5, which is it 5?
Yeah, it's the last issue.
Last issue,
5, yeah.
another 5-issue miniseries. Very good.
Yeah.
This is the final battle between Wolverine and Cyclops over basically what the X-Men represent. Wolverine's kind of fed up with having to risk these children's lives and defending, the Utopia Island in San Francisco. It's just a brutal fight. What people were really complaining about was that it's pretty much 11 pages of like grunting, and fighting each other. But it's an awesome fight, and it feels like it does have weight behind it.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely right, man. It had that great cinematic value that you really hardly find in miniseries. And this issue, like Alan Davis did the art in last issue. That was the emotional setup, and who better to do it than Alan Davis? I think Andy Kubert. Adam Kubert did this one. Great for the big action scenes. This book is all action, and you have this giant sentinel about to crash down on Utopia, and Wolverine and Cyclops can't get their shit together, and they're fighting. They're duking it out. Wolverine's about to blow up the island. Cyclops is trying to stop him, and then all of a sudden the ex-kids show up, and everybody takes down a sentinel.
And having that fight, this brutal fight happen while this sentinel is trying to blast them. So you have the backdrop of this giant laser coming at them. It's such a good book, and this is obviously the beginning of the 2 relaunches for X-Men. We're actually going to see Wolverine be the headmaster of one school, and Cyclops is the other.
Yeah, Cyclops ends up with the Brotherhood of Evil essentially because Wolverine leaves. He goes back to Westchester. They're going to build a mansion. It's him and a handful of X-Men, and then you have Cyclops hanging out on Utopia with the White Queen, Namor, Magneto. And
Colossus is Juggernaut.
Right.
Magic, who used to be a villain as well. Who else was in that team?
Hope also stayed behind.
So, Fraction just recently said that he's calling that team the Extinction Squad, which are basically like the people who could strike fear into people's lives, into the humans' lives, because they're basically could be borderline villains, and they're some of the most powerful dudes out there. And I love Bald Colossus.
Ball Class is awesome. Very good. Very, very cool. You also have the end of Cyclops being like the good guy, kind of.
Yeah, I think they're trying to really, leave it up to the reader to see who side with. But I'm sure most people will feel the same way, where you're very sympathetic to Wolverine's story.
Right.
I tease Cyclops becoming a villain for a while. I mean,
Well, he's always been kind of a dick, but it's like we're not. When you say villain, it's definitely not. He's not going to be the cackling villain, but he's definitely. If you look at Wolverine and Cyclops as kind of Magneto and Xavier, you definitely have Cyclops taking that role of being more militaristic and everything. And he's a tough. He fights Wolverine and he toughs it out. He gets stabbed. Cyclops blasts the face off of Wolverine. It's an awesome book.
Yeah.
And it's a good little world building moment. Yeah. Especially since we're going forward, we're kind of seeing the argument for Cyclops, which is I kind of agree with. If they do split up the teams now, it's going to bring more attention to them and actually be more negative for them.
Right.
Because we're going to be seeing a big tie into Marvel next year of incorporating the X-Men universe to the superheroes.
Right. Which is a long time in the making. Yeah. You definitely need it. They did some cool stuff in this issue too. Once they stop fighting each other, Cyclops just whips off his visor and just starts blowing stuff up. And then you have the ending where Cyclops is, it's just panels of them leaving. And the different colored dialogue boxes between both of them, and Cyclops is listen, it's not too late to change your mind. You could stay here, but if you leave, we'll always protect the world that hates and fears us, and I guess that includes you too now.
Yeah, man.
So they leave, Cyclops stays back, and it's such a great setup to make him a Magneto character.
Yeah.
Because he's been doing this since he's 15 years old, and he's just fighting constantly.
He's been he's also been banging out Emma Frost, so it looks like it's kind of rubbing off on him at this point.
Right.
And what's great is going forward, the next storylines, we're going to see a new Wolverine and X-Men #1. Uncanny starting from #1. Their first major villain is the return of Mr. Sinister, which is awesome. Which is great.
Yeah.
You also had Danger on the team. Danger was part of that Extinction Squad.
Right.
It's going to be really interesting. I'm really I haven't been this excited for X-Men in a long time.
Absolutely.
For a new start. I hope they keep it like this for a long time.
It's a really good time to be an X-Men fan.
And so supposedly Brian Wood is going to be coming on and doing some cool Wolverine stuff soon.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I always like cool Wolverine stuff. It's such a selling point.
He is. I don't have like too much of a fixation on a solo character, but like if you do solid Wolverine, I am in it. Yeah. I am totally.
It's a generational thing. Like we like Wolverine, but like my father hates.
Oh yeah,
character.
Yeah. When we used to work in the store, we would always have issues with like the guys who grew up in the Silver Age who couldn't stand Wolverine. He just didn't have any type of attraction to the character. Where they would have like I love Snapper Carr. I grew up as a kid, and like I read all the Snapper Carr books.
Not anymore. He is out of continuity.
He is out of continuity.
He's done. We're gonna go with our last book, which is actually a pretty tremendous book. It's Walking Dead number 89.
Oh, what a book!
If you have not read The Walking Dead,
you're an asshole.
Yep. Check it out.
Unforgivable asshole.
They are available. They're doing Walking Dead Weekly now, which is like they're doing like reprints of the older issues. And everything's collected. Everything gets collected right away. And a really cool part about the book.
Yeah, you should have no trouble finding an entire run of Walking Dead somewhere.
If you're going to con next week, make it your job to pick up.
And what better time? The show is starting in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and if you're a fan of the show, read the comic. Really, really good issue. We left off with Carl waking up, not remembering anything, and you have
Rick's son,
and you have this group of people in the new city that they're living in who essentially want to kill Rick.
Yeah, so like Rick is basically taken over a walled-in town in Washington, I believe, right? It's still there. So they're set up there, and Rick is, he always falls into the leadership role, and he's just falling apart. His son is awoken, and he realizes his mom's dead, but he doesn't really care about it. And Rick is worried that he's starting to hate his own son. Which is like, this is complicated human emotions that you usually will not get out of a character who is your hero.
Right.
But also, I'm sure you felt the same way when you're reading it. And we want to address this more and more. Whenever you read this book, anyone can die. And a character who's been around forever, Glenn, really has a moment where he could have been killed.
He could have been off.
You're waiting. Like I'm traumatized. I'm turning the page, and I'm always afraid of that next page to be like someone getting his head blown off.
Yeah.
You really do feel like everything is on the line at all times.
He puts you on edge so much, and it's so not a zombie book, but it is. It's such a great survival.
You can go
book.
12 issues without having a single zombie in the book.
And it's a good testament to like the human condition, and like it's pretty. I would think it's kind of realistic because everybody's kind of ganging up on each other. And you have that one thing where like this guy's trying to get together like this little militia to take on Rick. Glenn hears it, starts running away. They chase after him, and then this dude just flips out, and he's like, "Look what they're doing! Like, look at this guy and look at that guy. They're gonna kill us all." And then it ends with Rick pulling out a gun, literally saying, "Do you know who the fuck we are?"
Yeah, he's like he basically points out like his crew, the people who've gone with him. Michonne, who walks around with a katana blade all the fucking time. Abraham, who's a giant wrestling type dude. And these guys have been killing people for years, and it's such a badass like ultimatum moment where you reminds you like if even how damaged these people are, how hungry they are, how weak, these dudes are straight up the baddest dudes in Atlanta.
They're the ultimate survivors.
Yeah, man.
And like it's so awesome too because like it was a good little touch where these people have no idea who these characters are, and I think that's the first time that's happened. As a fan, you read the stories and you're kind of like, they escaped cannibals, they escaped the governor, they escaped all this crazy shit. And
my man's got one hand.
Yeah,
Rick's got one fucking hand.
Bad dude, like listen.
I like the moment when he's just talking in the middle of the street. And Abraham's chasing two zombies, and he's like, "You got it, you got it." And Rick just takes with one hand with his little hatchet and just chops the top off the zombie's head.
So great. Pick up Walking Dead. It's one of the best comics out there.
I've never recommended it to somebody and said like, "Oh, that's so shitty. It's such a terrible book."
It's a great book, and plus you have like a really cool thing that Kirkman does. He does like a really, really in-depth letters column.
Yeah, he does.
Which is really cool stuff. If you like that behind the scenes kind of thing, and he'll always end the issue with, "Well, I guess that's what happened," bet you didn't see that coming.
Well, I was talking to Bobby about this the other day, and
our friend Bobby,
and he was saying how, he hasn't read the letters column in a while, and how one dude was complaining, like, "Oh, like how are these people, when are Rick actually going to go out and try and discover how they're going to cure this disease?" And I'm the same way, and I'm sure you are, where that would be terrible. If these aren't scientists, these are dudes just trying to make it through the day.
Yeah, they're not on the romantic mission of like we have to find this and stop it. They're like, listen, my kid just got shot. I got to save
not what the book is
everybody.
about.
You know? Yeah.
It's about the human condition, about being like the threat that one day food will run out. There's no livestock. I'm sure no one is really growing shit at this point.
Right.
There's going to be a point where they can't find any more canned foods and potato chips.
Do you think it's going to get to the cannibalism point in a couple of years?
I think so. Yeah. I think we're really going to... I think they've addressed it where it's an inevitable thing where we're going to have to do everything humanly possible. And it doesn't have a heart. The book really will rip out its own heart.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's such a great book, man. And, like, the way Kirkman writes it, you never know where it's going to go. And, you know, the next issue could take place 5 years from now.
Yeah.
You know, and anybody could die. Anything could happen at any given moment. And that's what makes this book such an award-winning, like, tale.
Yeah, and you never feel like, especially Rick, a character who's the main character, you really do feel like there's going to be a storyline coming down the line where he will die.
Well, Kirkman's going to be at the con, too.
I'll talk to that motherfucker.
And
I fucking talk.
I think he's reached the level of him not being on the floor.
Yeah, he runs Image Comics. He's got a television show, but I'm gonna talk to that motherfucker. I'm gonna get in his face.
He's coming for you.
Tell him how awesome his book is. Like real mean. Fucking love your book.
Yo, your book's great, bro.
I know you don't have it here, but Invincible is very, very good too. Another book that he's been doing for friggin' forever.
Invincible's fantastic. I actually picked up the last trade the other day, and I started reading it before I came here. The Viltrumite War.
That sounds crazy.
Great stuff. If you like Kirkman, if you like Walking Dead, if you just like comics and want awesome comic book stuff, pick up Invincible. I'm sure at some point we're going to do like a whole Robert Kirkman thing and just... He's come up with some of the kookiest shit on earth, man, you know?
He's kooky.
You have Invincible and you have like Brit, a book like Brit also.
I loved that mini he did for Marvel, Destroyer.
Yes.
That was very cool. Take an old Golden Age character and make him like the baddest old dude out there.
And it would have fit perfectly in his Image stuff too.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You know?
Totally.
But I think that's all the time we have this week. We will be at the New York Comic Con next week if you want to come and say hi to us. You probably don't have to. You don't.
I'm sure many
you could.
Want to come say hi.
Yeah.
What's your schedule like over there this week? You know what? Let's make a post for the website.
Okay.
Sure.
With when you guys are going to be there. If
all
you want to come
week.
and meet you, they could come meet you on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be roaming around every day.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing the after parties.
Yeah.
All right, so Thursday?
Thursday.
What time are you guys going on Thursday?
All day. Probably we're going to get there at 10 o'clock and stay till the end.
I guess I'll come with you. Thursday.
Okay, cool.
Come through.
But I have to be back for the show.
Sure.
Okay.
We'll figure out what we're doing if we're going to be doing like Friday's the only day that we're kind of like weirded out by because we don't know if we're going to come here and do the show or we're going to do it remotely. We'll figure out, in the week.
Yeah. If you're watching, we may be live next week from the Comic-Con. If not, you'll definitely see a nicely put together package.
I have the guys from LiveView coming by on Tuesday see if it'll work.
Yeah, cool.
It may not. If it doesn't, then we'll have clips.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we'll do like an entire episode. We'll edit an entire episode for the show.
Yeah,
so we can air that on Friday.
I'm sure we're gonna have tons of supplementary, material to have.
We'll have
for this.
Come say hi to us while we say hi to everybody else.
We'll say hi to you.
We're gigantic fanboys.
Hey man, if you want an autograph, I'll sign your breasts, sign your forehead, your baby, anything.
You're gonna see a lot of dude breasts there.
No sign on the dick.
I'll sign the dick. Okay. I'll sign the shaft. I won't go near the balls though. Okay. That's gay. Okay.
Also too hard to write on wrinkly skin. Yeah. Especially if you're using a pencil. All right, everybody. This has been Behind the Counter. We thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week. I'm Rich Stambolian.
I'm Johan Adler.